Joining us now for more, retired military intelligence officer, Lieutenant Steve Rogers, and distinguished university professor at Touro College, Thane Rosenbaum. Professor, I'm going to start with you first. Is it illegal to do this? This is the issue we've been talking about. I thought that you could not do this. There was a federal law against it, and I assume the states aren't going to let you. Obviously, you can't taunt or anything like that. But where is the line here? What is allowed, what is not?
Well, first of all, Bob, the U.S. Code is very clear. You cannot intimidate, you cannot petition, you cannot try to influence a judge, right, a federal judge. You're not supposed to be near them. So even when President Biden's press secretary said, we support peaceful protests outside the House, I'm not sure that's permissible under the law. It's protected under the First Amendment. I understand that. But you're not supposed to be able to intimidate or influence a judge. So that's number one. Number two, I think we're forgetting, historically, Supreme Court justices are famously anonymous. Until recently, no one could even tell you what any of them look like. The fact that we now have their addresses so that we can go even peacefully protest outside their homes is really pretty stunning. Lastly, I think ironically, remember the leaked opinion, Alito's leaked opinion says the following. Most people, again, I have no idea what it's ultimately going to say, but the leaked opinion said, the Constitution says nothing about abortion. It's a political and a moral matter, and it should not be decided by the Supreme Court. So we should kick it back to the political process through state legislatures. Let the people decide. And yet the people that are threatening Supreme Court justices are forcing this as a political decision made by the court when the court is trying to punt it away back into the political sphere. The Supreme Court's not saying we're banning abortion. Up until now, again, we don't know what the decision will say. All it's saying is it's not a matter of a constitutional question and should be decided morally or politically through the political process.
Yeah, and let's take a listen to this. Senator Chuck Schumer, back in 2020, made some questionably, potentially threatening statements about Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. Let's take a listen to what he said.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
All right, so Steve, you will pay the price, said Senator Chuck Schumer back in 2020. Your take on that?
And this is the leader, one of the leaders of the party who condemns conservatives with regard to words mattering. To me, that was a green light. And I've got to tell you, folks, when we see this increase of violence, the Democrat Party has put conditions out there, expectations that nothing is going to be done to you, no matter what you do or how you do it. You're going to get picked up by the police and you're going to go home. I am astounded. The professor is absolutely right when it comes to protesting in front of justices' homes and trying to influence the courts. I'm astounded that no one was arrested when they protested in front of these homes. The President of the United States didn't come out early enough to say, hey, look, this is wrong. In fact, I don't even know if he's weighed in on this incident at this moment. But they set the stage for criminals to commit acts of violence. Thank God the judge wasn't hurt, but this may not be the end of it.
Yeah, and Thane, when we see that in the context that we have it now, where somebody's arrested with a gun, saying he wanted to kill a justice, is that actionable? I mean, I know it becomes a game in the courtroom, but is something like that, could you charge somebody like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, from what little I already know, it appears that there's clearly attempted murder. Apparently, some statement was made that was part of your report, that he wasn't just sort of wandering around. He knew where he was, and he knew he was there for a reason, and he gave us the reason why he wanted to influence the court in this particular way.
But I mean for Chuck Schumer. Yeah, I mean for Chuck Schumer.
Oh, well, remember, a good question, Bob. Remember during the second impeachment trial, the question was incitement to violence. Did President Trump incite the January 6th mob? But unfortunately, President Trump said we should walk over and peacefully protest. What I think Senator Schumer said crosses a very different line, and I agree with my co-guest as well. It was sort of shocking. And remember, we've also heard Maxine Waters said, get in the faces of elected officials, right? These are very aggressive. This is not what James Madison and Alexander Hamilton thought about free assembly and free speech, getting in people's faces, you will have a price to pay. That's clearly in language of incitement, and incitement is not protected under the First Amendment.
Yeah, we're
Bob,
learning that. I'm sorry to interrupt you
May I
there.
add something?
Go ahead.
May I add one important factor?
Of course.
When we conduct investigations like this, we look for trigger points. What triggered the criminal to act? And boy, I'll tell you what, we may find out that some of these words that some of these politicians have been spewing out was the trigger.
Very interesting point. And actually, the suspect who was picked up outside of Kavanaugh's house will be in court at 3 p.m. So, Steve, I want to continue with you here. What do you think will come next for him? Or is this going to be something where he's sort of let off easy?
Well, I think because of the wide publicity and the fact that he admitted that he was there to kill the judge, I think they're going to hold him perhaps without bail. Perhaps if this was you or me or any other citizen, they probably let him go under the crime reform bills. But we're talking about a federal judge, a member of the U.S. Supreme Court. So to do anything other than to put him behind bars at this point is, again, sending a signal. Look, doesn't matter who you are or what you're going to do. We're just going to let you go until there's a court date. I don't think they have a choice but to take stern action at this time.
Yeah, I hate to be the skeptic. I'll believe it when I see it. Nowadays, Steve, it seems like the soft on crime thing is pervasive everywhere. And we expect this at 3 o'clock, but Thane, I wouldn't be surprised if this is behind closed doors and we don't see it televised and we don't hear a whole lot about it off the bat. What do you think happens here, following up on Steve's comments?
Well, I don't know. I'm wondering whether the Supreme Court is starting to think that they should finally release the Dobbs opinion out of Mississippi.
Right.
Because this keeping everyone in suspense probably isn't helping matters. In my reporting for Newsmax and for CBS, I keep saying normally a case like the abortion case, you won't see until the last day of the term, right before July 4th weekend. But I wonder whether some of this would be diffused if they simply release the decision, because again, we don't know what it says. We only know what the first draft leaked in February. And again, what I said before is something that I don't think is widely understood. The Supreme Court, even in the draft, isn't banning abortion. It doesn't have the authority to do that. It simply says the Constitution doesn't protect the right. But it doesn't mean that you can't have abortion. In fact, there will be many, many states that will strengthen their abortion laws. Now, I'm not saying that pro-life, pro-abortion enthusiasts should be thrilled with the case, but there's no banning of abortion. I have a feeling the guy with a gun thinks that's exactly what's happened.
Yes, and I think this happened in Maryland, right? So
Yes.
in Montgomery County.
Correct.
So in Maryland, I assume they're going to have a lot different regulations than Oklahoma and Texas. So, and for him not to be aware of that, I think you point that out. A very good point. Thank you very much, Thane Rosenbaum and Lieutenant Steve Rogers. Thank you, gentlemen.
Pleasure.
Thank you.